Welcome back, everybody, and we are on to another tutorial. And by now, I think we're on the 10th tutorial. You're probably wondering, okay, I have spent this much time and I simply have a block sliding around the screen, picking up other blocks, and I've got a display item and all this stuff. Maybe you've learned a few things, which I'm really hoping, but so far you're probably thinking, Rogaway, I want to see something exciting. I want to be impressed. I hear of, I play these games that Unity makes and they don't look like simple little blocks. So in this tutorial, it might be a little bit longer. I hope I can keep it short. We are going to look at importing meshes and models and stuff, assets to our game that we can use to make our game look amazing. All right, I'm setting some high hopes here, but we'll see how it goes. Let's switch out of 2D view because we're done with the UI for now. Let's just switch back. And one little quick tip here is if you double click something you want to see, like let's say your player, just double click and then it'll give you a view of where he is. So here's our scene right now. Again, not very exciting, sort of, blocks that move around. I can play it, test it, and show you because we've seen it a bunch of times. This is where we're at right now. And like I said, probably in the first or second video, it's really important when you're building a game that you get the mechanics right first. You build the game sort of how you want it to play, and then worry about making it look good after. Okay, some people go the other way. They build all the assets first and then code it in and they have all the assets to work with. That works fine too. But in my opinion, a cube or whatever object, if it represents a player, it's good enough for us to test and to see if it's actually going to work. And then we can easily, like I said, just swap in whatever we want for the actual player. And I'm going to show that in this video. So you got a few options. Not everybody's going to be an amazing 3D designer. Okay, some people will be good with some sort of 3D software. And I encourage, if you know 3D software, that you build original assets. There is far too many reused assets out there, and originality it goes a long ways. So let's look at that option first, original assets. And let's say I just finished building a treasure chest in Blender. All right, I'm going to double click this just so you can take a look at it. This treasure chest is very basic. Please do not judge. It didn't take me very long to make. And you can see that it's low poly. It's got a few materials on it. Nothing fancy. There's no image textures or anything. It's simply just a texture, not even texture, just materials on this object that looks like a chest. So let's say we were happy with this chest and we wanted to bring it into our Unity project for whatever reason. Unity tends to prefer FBX files. So if I wanted to bring this chest into Unity, what I would do is I'd go to Files, or File, Export, FBX. All right, and inside the FBX, you've got some options. I'm not going to go through them all, but some things that are important when you are exporting an object is you don't want the camera or any lights. You simply want the armature if you have one, definitely the mesh, okay? And you can hold shift and pick the ones that you want, but do not import your camera or your light because those light sources and cameras will actually become light sources and cameras in Unity, and you don't want that unless it was for a specific reason. So generally I only import the mesh, the armature if I've got some sort of an animation or some sort of movement, and that's pretty much it. Scale, You can adjust this in Unity, it doesn't matter. Z forward, again, this is all the direction it's going to face when it comes in. For the most part, this is set up pretty good. All right, and I'm going to export it to the same folder. I've already done it, so normally I would hit export FBX, but I'm going to hit cancel because I've already got it. Okay, and once you have an FBX file, you will see that file appear wherever you've exported it to. And in Unity, with your FBX file, there's a couple ways you can bring it into your file. The way I like to do it, because I'm old school, and it was the way I was sort of taught to do it, is to find my Unity folder on my desktop or wherever I've got it, go into it, look for the assets folder, and actually drag that FBX file into the assets folder like that. And when I switch back to Unity, you will see the chest has appeared. And there it is. All right, and we can rotate it, we can look at it, we can see it's still got all the materials that we created on there. And an FBX comes in as a package. We can actually look inside the package. You can see there's the mesh, there's the materials, right? So you can see this one's shiny, this was the metallic. And then all we got to do is just drop it into our scene. And you'll see that now we've got an actual, treasure chest in our scene for some weird reason. It doesn't really matter, but I'm going to just kind of move that into position. Now, the cool thing about Unity is it works so well with these 3D programs that these objects that you bring into it can pretty much be treated like the primitive objects that Unity has within. So if we want this to be an object that our player can't pass through, we can simply apply a collider to it. So with the mesh selected, we could just add a component, and I'm going to put, let's just try a mesh collider. All right, usually a mesh collider works pretty well. And so there we go. We've added a collider, which means now when our block hits it, it shouldn't be able to pass through that treasure chest. But let's test it out and actually see if that's what happens. Let's go. Okay, and you see how the objects bounce off of it? All right, so it does see it. I missed that guy. It does see it as an object, a solid 3D object. And again, it came from Blender, but it's acting as if, it was a model made within Unity, which is exactly what you would hope, when you're building these assets. That's what you'd hope that they would actually do. They would come in as objects that you could simply interact with the same as any other objects. Let's move along. Let's say we wanted to get a player object for our cube rather than just a block, because a block is not too exciting. There's a lot of options out there. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of people who steal assets or borrow assets or use assets developed by other people. Maybe they don't have the skill to build them in Blender. So just a simple search from a browser is going to show you tons of options for character 3D model, free download. And you're going to get a ton of websites that offer 3D models, game models, rigged models, you name it. Some of them are paid, some of them are free. I'm not going to go through, the best resources, best places to get those. Maybe I'll put it in the description. But there are a lot of free resources out there. There is, however, one that I want to show you guys that I think is the best for characters. And the nice thing is it comes fully rigged, fully animated. It's a wonderful tool. Doesn't cost you anything. And that is Mixamo. Mixamo. Sorry, Mixamo. What am I talking about? Mixamo. Mixamo is owned by Adobe, and you can sign up for free. It's going to cost you absolutely nothing. but I don't think I have to sign in to actually play around with it. But let me show you. So they have a bunch of pre-created characters that you can choose from. And the really cool thing is you can upload your own characters that you've made in your Blender or whatever. Obviously, it has to be rigged correctly for this to work. But you can go through their preset characters, the ones that they have designed already. I like this guy, the boss. Wait, let's go back to him. The boss. And you can do all sorts of things. You can rotate and check him out from all angles, zoom in, zoom out, see how his meshes and his textures look and all the rest of it. But the cool thing about this is you can go to, after you've picked your character, you can go to the animations tab, and they have tons of motion tracked animations that they have basically perfected, in my opinion, for these characters, okay? And you can apply them to your own character. That's the amazing thing. And some are just super funny. Like, look at it. Some of these are awesome. And you can even look at the slider here. Enthusiasm, like how enthusiastic he is. Some of these are hilarious. And when you're happy with the model, you can download it. And it's going to download, I believe, as an FBX, or you can choose a blend file, whatever you want to use it in, and you can play around with it and you can keep adding to it. I love this resource. Okay, so I'm not sponsored by these guys, but I just love this resource because it's free and it works really, really good. All right, so that's Mixamo. Another one that we cannot disregard, which is probably the best one for Unity, is the Unity Asset Store. And the Unity Asset Store used to be included inside of Unity. It was actually its own little tab. But since a few versions ago, they moved it out, and now you have to go to the site to get the assets. But the Unity Asset Store has all sorts of amazing stuff. 3D assets, 2D assets, add-ons and plugins, audio, everything for Unity, okay? So stuff that other people have coded, like full-blown character controllers with, but most of them, I'm just gonna be honest, most of them cost money, all right? However, if I was looking for a low poly character, I'm going to show you a little trick here that you can do. If I was looking for a low poly character, 3D character, I guess I should put 3D character. In the asset store, you're going to get tons and tons and tons of assets. And you can see like 149 bucks, 49 bucks. One little trick you can do is when you sort by, you can sort by price. So you can go from low to high, and the low ones will always be free. So here's a bunch of low poly 3D game characters for free that you can download and you can add to your project. Now the cool thing about the Unity Asset Store is if you are logged in, you can actually install them directly to Unity through the Asset Store. And that's simply done, I'll just show you, it's simply done by making sure you're logged into the same account as your Unity account, adding it to your assets. And it's going to ask you, it's going to say, oh, I'm not signed in. I really don't want to go through the process of doing it, but it will ask you, do you want it to add to your Unity project? And you can simply say, add to my project. It'll ask you to import, download and import, and then it will actually add it to your assets automatically, which is really awesome because then it's already there. It's packaged correctly and you don't have to worry about it. So this is another great option. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail on this. We're going to go back to the game and we are going to look at how to swap our block for something that actually looks like a character. Okay, so let's just put this down for a sec. So we looked at the chest, we put that in there. Next we want to actually have our character, our player, look like something like an actual character. And inside the assets that I've already got for you, there is a character called player. All right, and inside player we've got a walking FBX, And we are going to simply drag that into our assets, just like that. Or you could do it the old school way that I showed you, where you drag and drop everything into your project. Now you'll notice if I click this guy, this dude is gray right now. He is not, this is a guard. This is what our character is going to look like. He's gray. He doesn't have any of his materials. And that's a common problem when you download FBX files. So to fix that, you have to go to the materials tab right here. All right, you can see there's 4 little tabs. We're going to go to the materials tab, and we're going to keep these 2 options the same, but we're going to extract our textures, and we're going to do it to the asset folder. We're going to choose that, and we're going to fix it. We're going to say fix now. You will notice just by doing that, all of a sudden our character has all of his mapped textures on him. You can do the same thing with materials as well. Choose that. It will add those to the folder as well. And basically those are the mapped UV maps that it needs to properly make this dude look like the character we want in our project, not just a gray character. Okay, so you can see our assets are starting to grow, and this is a good time for me where I would actually make a folder called player. Okay, it's saying that we should save. Okay, let's save. I'm going to make a folder. I'm going to call it player. I like to stay organized in my assets, otherwise it starts to get like becomes a giant mess. And so I'm going to take all of the guard pieces, drop them into player. I'm going to put this here, one called walking, into player. And now we've got all of his pieces organized within the player folder. Okay, so to attach your player, now we've already, think about this for a second. We've already got a cube that has a collider. It has a rigid body. It has a move controller. It has everything we need already on it. All we really need to do is take our player, drop him in, get him lined up with the cube, more or less. Okay. Just line him up as best as you can. If you feel like it, you can shrink him down so that he's the same size as the cube just by using scale. All right, and by the way, there's a little link here so you can scale them all at once, just like that. Okay, so he fits inside of the cube. Maybe he's a little bit bigger. Maybe a little touch bigger. Move him down a little bit too. And what we can do with that is when our player's inside the cube, you'll see here in our objects, I'm going to rename this to let's call it character model. And I'm going to simply make this a child of the player, which is the cube. All right, so it's going to move with the cube. And then all I have to do is go to player, which is the cube, and just turn off the mesh renderer. All right, so that it's hidden. So basically this guy, this character, takes on all of the attributes of the cube because the cube still exists. It's just hidden and he's inside of it. You may notice that the hit zone is a little bit big around him. We can edit that if we really want to. We can edit the collider here. We can change the size of it, get it to fit him closely. But you'll see now if I play the game that now we have a character instead of a block. And yes, I know it looks like he's just sliding around, okay? He doesn't really move very realistically, but we're going to look at that in the next tutorial. All right, but that is as easy as it gets to put models into Unity. You can now do whatever you need to do with this model. It has everything you need, and it's really, really simple and quick. And like I said, it treats it as if it's an actual Unity object that you would have created within Unity. Works really, really well. All right, so our game's coming along. In the next one, we're going to look at animations. We're going to look at a few more little touches we can do to make this look a little more magical. And we're well on our way to create a game that might actually look like something maybe from the early 2000s, if we're lucky. Anyways, I hope you guys join me on the next one.